Hyphy was music, it was dance, it was car culture.
The South had content. We needed a word to call what we was doing in the Bay Area.
There's some mob bass lines, some zany sounds up in there, and let's talk about the culture and the songs.
Man, white t-shirt, blue jeans, Nike was just like the dress code.
A sideshow is where you bring your car out and show people what you could do, what the car does.
I think Madrigal was so important at that time. He was just so unique, man.
If you were at the party and the song came on and we all going dumb, then we all going dumb.
It was a break from all the bullshit. Like, we could go to the party and go dumb. It was just that brief moment of happiness for you in that instance. But in that moment, you didn't care.
There's so much going on, man. We just losing friends. People was getting killed. People was dying.
It's definitely fire. That hyphy movement, that hyphy spirit that exists. So we're going to rebel. We're going to take over the streets. We're going to commandeer the streets, and we don't care what they say.
Hyphy is the act of being free. Hyphy is a movement.
Hyphy is a lifestyle.
Hyphy's powerful.
This one for the king, got a super duper. Keak get well, we gon' shit like a pooper scooper. I'm riding for you, Brody, like a super Uber.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Breeze. Breezeway Productions The Breeze, where we bring you the latest in independent films and film festival news. And we are excited to kick off our coverage of this year's Cinequest Film Festival with the official selection this year, We Were Hyphy. We have filmmaker Larry Madrigal, director. We have director of photography Ryan McDowell, and we have producer Jason O. Mahoney. How are you guys?
Hey, good. How you doing, man?
Very good, very good. Thanks for coming on the show to talk about your film. So I always kick it off by asking, tell us a little bit about We Were Hyphy.
Yeah, sure. Sorry. Yeah, We Were Hyphy really is just ultimately a love letter to a movement that happened in the Bay Area in the early 2000s called the Hyphy movement. And, through this love letter and celebration of a film, we explore also, the impact and influence it had on a lot of the people coming of age during that time that really experienced it and really kind of were going through that step into adulthood, and how that carried over into their lives and their future careers and artistic kind of explorations later on, and myself included, I grew up in the Bay Area during the time. I'm 33 now, so at that time I was between the ages of 16 and 22, so it was a super impactful time for me as well. So that's the heart of the film.
Sure, I get it. When I was watching it, I was reminded of many songs that I heard on the radio that were really big. And when I was in early 2000s, I was finishing up high school, going into college. Then I remember a lot of those songs, and I was like, oh wow, I forgot about this jam, and it was like this whole movement. So you have a lot of great people that are involved in this film as well. A lot of talent that, I'm sure wasn't easy to get a hold of. You start off the film with G-Eazy. You have Dr. Andrea L.S. Moore, Pilo. You have a lot of people that were involved in this movement. So my next question will go to the producer, Jason. So how did you wrangle all the talent for this, and how did you pitch them the project that you were doing and for them to get involved with this?
Yeah, well, the whole kind of project started because Larry and I used to all work together. And so they used to tell me stories about Hyphy. And it blew my mind because I'm not from the Bay Area, but the stories they were telling, it was just amazing. So the three of us kind of sat down and we started chatting about would it be good to capture this or try to tell this story on film? And so we started out literally just wanting to make maybe a 5 or 10 minute little piece that we would put up on YouTube. Mm-hmm. But everybody that we met, they were so supportive of what we were doing, and they would literally introduce us to other people. So it kind of grew organically from a 5 minute YouTube piece to okay, this should be a 7 or 10 minute piece that we can submit to film festivals. And then eventually it became this 84 minute piece that hopefully captures the sort of energy of the Hyphy movement. Because honestly, as somebody who was just a complete sort of virgin to sort of Hyphy, the stories blew my mind about sideshows and stuff. But the amazing thing about setting up these interviews is everybody that we actually reached out to and everybody that we spoke with were so completely supportive of what we were doing and loved the Hyphy movement. And so they would introduce us to somebody else. And every interview that we did, it'd be oh, you've got to speak to this person. Oh, you've got to speak to this person. And so then we kind of wormed our way into the whole, the Hyphy movement, I guess. G-Eazy was actually one of the last ones that we did. Okay. And we were put in touch with G-Eazy by D-Ray and by Gary. And they were just amazingly supportive to us throughout the whole film process. So yeah, I mean, it was kind of hard to wrangle people, but honestly, everybody in it loves Hyphy. They were all so enthusiastic about it. It wasn't actually as difficult as you might think.
Who was the first person that jumped on board and said, I'm into it?
I think the first interview that we did, and like Brian and Larry can jump in here, but I think it was actually Rene, who's the curator out at Oakland Museum. And like they had this amazing hip hop exhibition out there, and we went to have a look at it, and it was just amazing. So we were like, listen, can we interview you? And that's actually a gorgeous interview. There's this insane like 1970s white car behind him. There's like fake kind of graffiti artists that you can see up in the corner. And an awful lot of the cutaways that we used throughout the film came from that. And then I think Fab was one of the first ones that we did as well. And basically that was like walking out, going into the shop, like saying, listen, this is what we're doing. Is there any chance that you'll chat to us and speak about your Hyphy and what it meant to you? And one of the things that was fantastic as well about the interviews was that like everybody was just so open and so generous, and they didn't necessarily need to be, but like Fab told these stories with like tears streaming out of his eyes about his mom and how like wonderfully supportive his mom was even when he was a kid. Like his mom bought him a dictionary, and like to see these memories and have those memories shared with us. I mean, our hope for the film is that like we do justice to the Hyphy movement and to everybody that spoke to us, because they really didn't have to.
Yeah, it sounds like you definitely did. And you brought up a good point, which leads me to my next question for Ryan. When you were talking about setting up all of the interviews and you had great production design with it, and you spoke with a lot of people and the snowball continued to happen. Tell me about your experience being the DP on this project and showcasing these interviews for the film.
Yeah, it was a lot of take what you can get. So like everywhere we went, you know, a lot, as the case is with documentaries, you know, you don't necessarily have the most control. And so sometimes we did. Sometimes we got to go to the museum. They shut down the museum for us. We had this great setup for Renee's interview in the museum.
That's
amazing.
Nice.
But then other people who might be, you know, artists often are very busy. You might be like that. Yeah, we got like 10 minutes and you get this weird room. And so it's just kind of making the most of what you have. Yeah, and I think we did an okay job of doing that. Just like in terms of like, it's like making a film documentary on like a shoestring budget. It's like whatever gear we can get our hands on and whatever location we can get our hands on to like, you know, polish it and make it look as good as we can. I think if we did have like a guiding principle, it was shoot as wide as the location allows us for a wide shot, and then get a close up for emotion. And then, you know, sometimes that wide shot is great, and sometimes that wide shot we didn't have a great location, so it's not very wide.
Did you have a 2-camera setup or only one? And then you switched lenses. You had 2 camera setups, so you had the one for the push in and one for the wide, and you're able to at least set it up that even if it's in a small room, you set it up the best way that you could.
Yep, totally. It's like, how can we show this person in their space? But if they weren't in their space, maybe we just avoid all of them, like make it small as possible.
Right on. I can understand that. And so Larry, how directing all of this, as it seems like a massive snowball and that things are constantly coming up and working with people's schedules and then moving crew from one place to another. How did you encapsulate all of it and then get it reined in so that you can create the final product of your film?
Yeah, no, great question. I mean, I think like, when we first started, we just had like a list of questions. And I because I experienced Hyphy, I knew some of what I thought were the big pillars that happened. And then as we talk to people, they bring up more big pillars. And then you start getting these like major plot points, right? And then from there, you have to try and kind of like start thinking about how it's going to flow. And then so at that point, I kind of just realized, I mean, this is my first time making a feature-length documentary.
Oh, wow. Congrats.
Thanks. Yeah. And I did study a little bit of documentary in college, in film school, but it was mostly narrative. So I'm like, how do you go about writing a documentary? So I have a background as an editor as well. My day job is editing. So I was like, you know what, I think I'm just gonna have to cut this movie myself. And in the editing room is where it kind of like formulated. And I mean, watching through like hundreds of hours worth of interviews and just like taking notes, even like within Premiere Pro, I'd stop, cut the clip and title the soundbite right there. So I could go back and grab it quickly. And then
nice.
That's kind of how I started really bringing it all together. And then what really helped, it was actually a suggestion from Ryan, I think early on, was he's like, just start editing, even though we've only shot a few interviews, and then we'll know who to interview or what to ask, and it'll kind of work parallel, you know? So that's kind of, I was editing as we were shooting, and then we're like, now, we have a good scene here and here, but we need a transition. So let's make sure we ask Droopy who's like a later interview about that, and then it worked out great. And yeah, and then brought two story editors along, or three total. Two of my friends from film school, Kagure and Marshall, and then Rafael Casal at the end really helped. We had some great story sessions that kind of helped formulate at the end. But I'd say editing it and directing it was like a key component to getting it to the way I really wanted it to look and feel.
That's awesome. It sounds like a very hectic time, but you did it. You pulled it out, and now you're going to be having your world premiere for your first full-length feature documentary. So congratulations to you for that. What do you hope that audiences can take away from this film after they've seen We Were Hyphy? Besides the knowledge of learning about this time, do you feel like what do you expect or hope for them to see when they watch your film?
Oh yeah, I mean, I can go first. I think like what I really hope is that people understand that it wasn't, I think on the outside, people see Hyphy as this kind of, it was a fun, kind of silly movement, but really it's rooted in a lot of powerful resilience from a very, not easy time in the Bay Area in the early 2000s. It was some serious like economic stuff going on, and Hyphy was an escape and a celebration from a lot of that. And there's just beautiful creativity that sparked from, kind of like the most unlikely of places, it reminds me of like the birth of hip hop a lot of ways, but it's so unique and so bombastic and fun. And I hope people can understand that like what it really is about, and that's like celebrating creativity and uniqueness. Yeah.
I think you're going to really hit it out of the park with this one. So congratulations on the world premiere at Cinequest this year. Where can people go to find out more about it? Like a website, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, things like that?
If you go to our Instagram just at We Were Hyphy, WEWEREHYPHY, there's actually links to the ticketing page from that. You can see the trailers and various different posts that we put up there over the last couple of weeks and months and years. But yeah, Instagram at We Were Hyphy.
Very nice, very nice. And in closing, is there anything you'd like to say to the Cinequest Film Festival for the official selection this year?
I think
a good choice.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. We're really excited about this. We were actually on a call, the three of us, and we were wondering if we were going to get in. And we checked email, and we actually got you got into Cinequest email as we were on a call. And we're like, yeah, we were literally jumping around screaming and over the moon. So yeah, thank you so much to them. And thank you to you, to Alex, for interviewing us. This has been fantastic.
For sure. Well, thank you for coming on the show. We definitely appreciate it. And we hope that our audience is able to check out Cinequest this year. They're going to be the world premiere of We Were Hyphy. And I want to thank all of you for coming on the show. Jason O'Mahony, for producer, Larry Madrigal, the director, and director of photography, Ryan McDowell. We appreciate you spending the time with us, and we hope you have a great time at Cinequest.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, man.